Have you ever imagined a world without cars, buses, trains, or airplanes? No engines, no fuel, no highways. Just humans and the world stretching endlessly before them long before engines roared. Before wheels turned by machines. Before steel rails and highways stretched across continents. Humanity moved on foot. Across endless plains beneath open skies, early humans walked. Barefoot. Carrying only what their hands and backs could manage. Every journey was uncertain. Every step was survival. They crossed tall grasslands where wind bent the earth in waves. They moved through dense forests where sunlight barely touched the ground. There were no maps, no roads, no certainty of what lay ahead. Only instinct, memory, and the distant horizon. There were no shortcuts. No rescue if something went wrong. Distance was measured not in miles, but in endurance. The horizon was both a promise and a threat. Beautiful, yet unforgiving. There were no signposts pointing the way forward. No timetables. No guarantees of arrival. Only instinct, memory, and the determination to keep moving. They climbed rocky ridges and descended into valleys carved by ancient rivers. When rivers blocked their path, they searched for shallow crossings. When food ran low, they kept moving because standing still meant danger. Over time, repeated movement carved faint trails into the land. Paths formed not by design, but by necessity. But the world was vast, and it was unforgiving. Progress was slow, deliberate, and entirely human, powered by muscle, patience, and the will to continue. Some journeys led into deserts, endless seas of sand where heat shimmered in the distance. Water was scarce, the sun relentless. They traveled together in small groups, conserving strength. Each sunrise marked another stretch of ground to cover. Each sunset marked how far they had come. There was no rush, only persistence. Step after step, day after day, humanity pushed forward, carving its story into the earth with nothing but footprints. Reaching a fertile valley felt like a miracle. And so, for the first time, some stayed. Small settlements appeared, huts of mud, wood, and animal skins clustered together. Travel did not stop. It evolved. Now movement connected communities. People carried tools, dried meat, woven cloth, crafted goods. Barter began. Paths became clearer. Journeys became intentional. But walking limited distance. It limited trade. It limited connection. After a few days of rest in the village, the travelers began to stir. Packs were tightened and last morsels of food secured. There was no lingering, only the rhythm of the journey calling them onward. Feet that had grown stiff from sitting in one place pressed again into the earth. The familiar weight of packs on shoulders, the steady pull of the road beneath their feet, reminded them that movement was life. Trails they had followed in, now visible in reverse, guided them out of the village. The sounds of the settlement, laughter, clanging tools, murmured conversation faded behind them. So humanity turned to animals. The domestication of the horse changed everything. What once took days on foot could now be traveled in a fraction of the time. A rider guiding a horse along a dirt trail was no longer bound by human endurance alone. Across open plains, small groups rode together, scanning the horizon. Hooves struck the earth in rhythm. Dust rose behind them. Horses carried more than riders. They carried grain, tools, messages between distant settlements. Travelers loaded supplies carefully, balancing weight across saddles, tightening straps before departure. At sunset, riders rested beside their horses, feeding them, checking their hooves, because the horse was not a machine. It was a partner. With horses, trade routes stretched farther. Communication improved. Territories expanded. The world began to feel smaller, But horses could not master every land. In the desert, survival demanded endurance. The camel became the bridge between civilizations. Tall, resilient, built for heat. Caravans of camels moved slowly across wide sand dunes, carrying salt, spices, textiles, grain. Their broad feet pressed gently into the sand. Their bodies endured thirst longer than any human could. Travelers walked beside them under the scorching sun, faces wrapped in cloth. A long line of camels stretching across the horizon became a symbol of connection, linking distant regions separated by harsh terrain. When caravans stopped, loads were adjusted carefully. Water was rationed. Animals rested before continuing. Without camels, deserts were barriers. With them, they became highways. In the far north, snow covered the earth for much of the year. Here, wheels were useless. Sled dogs pulled wooden sleds across packed snow and ice. Their movement was disciplined, coordinated. Travelers wrapped in thick fur guided them carefully, steering across frozen plains. Endured blinding snowstorms. Followed faint trails across endless white landscapes. When they stopped, the dogs were fed first. Because without them, movement stopped. The sled glided silently over snow. In the harshest climates on Earth, survival depended on cooperation between human and animal. In tropical forests and dense jungle terrain, another challenge awaited. Thick vegetation, uneven ground. Here, elephants carried the burden of travel. Massive yet controlled, they moved along narrow forest paths, guided by handlers. Heavy bundles of goods rested on their backs: timber, grain, tools, trade items. They crossed shallow rivers effortlessly. Entire caravans depended on them to move goods between inland settlements and coastal ports. Travelers rested beside them during long journeys, trusting their strength. As centuries passed, movement became organized. Stone roads appeared, carefully laid surfaces that resisted rain and erosion. They connected farms, villages, and growing towns. Wooden carts pulled by oxen carried heavier goods than humans alone could manage. Wheels creaked over dirt and stone. Bridges were built across rivers, first simple logs, then stronger wooden structures. Walled towns rose along major routes. Travelers entered through large gates into markets alive with sound. Merchants displayed grain, cloth, spices, crafted tools. Travel was no longer only survival. It was economy. It was expansion. On distant coasts, wooden sailing ships waited in harbors. Built from timber and rope, powered only by wind, they carried traders across open seas. Sailors prepared sails carefully. From footprints in wild grasslands, to caravans across deserts, to sleds gliding over frozen plains, to elephants carving paths through jungles, to stone roads linking cities, to ships crossing oceans by wind alone. Before engines ever existed, the world was already connected, not by machines, but by endurance, by partnership with animals, by patience, by will. Humanity's first transportation system was effort, and it carried us across the world.